Hey everyone, this is Jim for SDC International Shipping. I'm here with Rob from SDC. How's it going, Rob?
Going well. How's everything where you are?
Very good, very good. There were several subjects that I was thinking about today that we could talk about, things that people have asked, questions that they look up online and such. But one of them came to the top of my mind had to do with customs. I know that depending on where you're going, there's certain things that you're allowed, certain things that you're not allowed. And then you have customs on our side, right? So if we're leaving, let's say, Los Angeles, going to the UK or the UE or Asia, right? There's a customs waiting for you there. So um, as someone who's preparing for an international move, customs, I would say that topic has more question marks around it than maybe any other topic. Can you sort of walk me through how that works and who's responsible for what?
Yeah, I can. And you're right. That question comes up all the time. I think, vast majority of our clients are kind of that's one of the question marks. And it's important because if you can't clear customs, anyone can ship something to a port. And if you can't clear customs, now what do? You turn it around, So it is important to understand that. Let's see. The only real on an export move from the United States to anywhere, only time that we're really going to have to worry about customs, true customs in the United States is if you're moving a vehicle of some form. Anything that's, has a registration, because people smuggle things out of the country all the time. So that's as simple as being able to prove that the ownership is there. But where the customs really comes into play on an export move is clearing customs at the port of international entry. So whether that's London or Southampton or Hamburg or Rotterdam, making sure that we can clear customs there. And it's kind of a twofold answer in terms of how that happens. Number one, assuming we're talking about household goods and personal effects, let's just assume that that's what we're talking about. Then we work with the client in the opening stages to make sure that let them know this is how it's going to work. These are some of the basic things that we're going to need: copy of your passport, that sort of thing. Make sure that you're coming into the country, and then we'll work with our agent, our folks, our team in the foreign country at the port, and they will ultimately kind of reach out to the client as we get closer. The boat's getting closer to the port of entry, saying, "Okay, we need this now. We need a." But they generally don't, but they will reach out because we typically are going to have the inventory list and all that sort of stuff that we've already supplied to our team overseas. So hopefully that was clear. I don't know how clear that was, but essentially we're the point of contact. We are in charge more or less, but we will turn things over to our team overseas, wherever that is, to communicate directly and get if there's anything nitty gritty that is necessary so that we can clear customs.
Has there ever been any problems or issues that you remember along those lines?
Only when it wasn't household goods and personal effects.
I see.
We didn't know it until we picked things up. Someone's, this is my household. It's used, and really they were going back to country X with all just office furniture from a closeout, a big company that went out of business. So it wasn't for anyone's home. So that country might have said, "Whoa, we're going to need a duty on this." But no, not too often. It's usually pretty darn straightforward. We've been doing this a long time, so it's as long as you follow the steps and get ahead of it. Very, very, very rarely getting had a problem.
Now, for those that don't know, a duty is what people are paying on the items that are not considered to be, maybe they're more commercial.
Correct. So, anytime you bring anything into almost any country, they're going to try and collect a tax, a duty, right? But there are exemptions to that. One of them is you are coming back to country X legally with the proper visa, or you're a returning citizen, or whatever the legal situation is, and you're bringing your used household goods and personal effects, because you're setting up a home over there. There's a pathway for that just about every country in the world. So yeah, as long as it's that. If it goes beyond that,
So
everything has a classification and a duty, but then there are exemptions.
so let's say if you're going from here in the US to Italy, and so you have the list, and SDC has the list of items that are in that shipment of household goods, and then that list is forwarded to the receiving side,
Mhm.
your team over there. And if there's any question at that point, they would ask,
They would
what
reach
about
out.
this?
Right. There's no sense in us getting involved. If someone's going to, County Cork, Ireland, I'm going to put my team in the Dublin area to reach out directly if
Yeah.
they have some little question or need something extra.
So now, being that most people are doing door to door, right? And that's
That's
usually
correct.
what's recommended because that's the easiest, most hands off, hassle free.
That's
You
right.
don't have to worry about doing something foolish. So when everything comes into the destination port, then SDC's people there are going to take care of the customs side of things and then arrange for the transportation to the final destination, whether it's an apartment, a house, or something like that. That's how that works.
Right. So prior to things getting to the destination port, we in the U.S. have worked with our team over there, the destination agent, and communicated quite a bit. But if there are any questions or anything else is needed, they will more than likely reach out to the client directly and say, we need this and that and the other thing. That way, when it hits the port, customs is cleared and the
Yeah,
goods are taken to the client's door, as we call it, their new home or whatever the destination is going to be. Sometimes it's a storage unit because they don't have a home yet, or
yeah.
we store it. Very, very often we store it. That's a better way if you have to store. But yeah, that's the door to door process.
Oh, yeah, that's good. So, in other words, if somebody, let's say, is renting an apartment because they couldn't get their house ready in time for, for whatever reasons things happen,
Yeah.
then SDC can store everything temporarily, or maybe some of it temporarily until that home is ready for those items to be moved to that home.
Do it all the time. Do it all the time. We can store it, and when it's time to be delivered, we deliver it.
That's nice.
There's an upside there. There's a really big upside there because let's say someone is living in an apartment because they're building a home or they just don't have their permanent home yet.
Yeah,
If I deliver it anywhere, whether it be that apartment, they may need it. So that would be one way. But sometimes I've got a storage place. I've got somewhere I can store it, or let's just take it to a third party storage place.
yeah,
Um, okay, fine. But that is now the door. That is door to door, and we're done.
yeah, yeah,
Then when it's time to have it brought to your permanent residence, someone's going to have to move that. Now it can be us, hopefully it would be, but
yeah.
someone's going to have to pick up, transport, and deliver. So it's another transaction. It gets a little costly.
Yeah. That makes sense though, because it's a lot of extra work.
That way, yeah. The in the previous scenario, just because we're storing it wherever in Southampton, we haven't completed the door to door transaction yet.
Yeah,
Now, is there a cost after a certain grace period? Is there a cost for storage? Of course,
yeah,
but with the transaction, so that adds a little bit, but it's not going to be the same as two full door to doors, basically.
yeah. Just out of curiosity, let's say somebody has a car that they're moving also as part of the household goods and it goes over in the container. It arrives there at the port. Does the person actually have to be there to pick up the vehicle at the port, or will that also be delivered to the home?
So there are two ways of handling a vehicle. If it's in the container, there's also roll on, roll off. But
Yeah.
let's leave that aside for now. Basically, the car with everything in the container would clear customs, and the default is for the vehicle to be held at our depot
Mm,
near the port. That way, the client would then come and pick up the vehicle and drive it or transport back to wherever they want it to go. The higher level of service is, we take it directly to the client. We deliver the vehicle to the client's door, so to speak.
oh, okay. So it's optional, whichever one you want.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So basically, the only time you really have a headache if you wanted to go from let's say your door here in the United States to the port, and then you try and take everything from the port yourself, that's when you would have to personally get involved as the customer in the whole customs issues with all of that. Is that
That's right.
right?
That's exactly right. So sometimes I have a client who'll say, no, 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 no. My uncle, whatever, is in the government, or
Yeah,
I'm connected, or I know what I'm doing. I just need you to retrieve all the things,
yeah,
drayage, take it to the port, put it on the boat, have the boat take it to the port, and you're out. I'll
yeah,
clear customs. I'll find a way to then deliver it to wherever I need it, actually the ultimate destination.
yeah,
No problem. I mean, I'll just write the order for service reflective of that particular desire.
yeah.
So there's no miscommunication and no, this is what we're doing. And
No.
yeah, but sometimes that people do that.
Well, Rob, this was great information. I know customs would be the one thing that I'd be concerned about personally, but having talked to you a few times about this, I know that you already have a list of things that are not permitted in certain countries. So when you see that I have those and I'm wanting to pack those, you would let me know ahead of time. And that
Right.
way I can decide, do I want to give it to a family member? Do I want to sell it?
Right.
How do I want to handle this before the actual move takes place?
Yeah. And we've talked about that before, but I'll just real quick touch on it. There's a difference between what's allowed in the country very often and what's allowed on the boat, if we're talking
Mm,
about ocean shipping here. So just because it isn't restricted or prohibited in the country of destination country doesn't necessarily mean it can go on a boat. So things I'm thinking about, of course, are foods very often, and liquids and things like that.
yeah. Interesting.
And
Rob,
on
as
the boat,
always, as,
you can put religious idols and things. You can put that on the boat,
yeah,
but if you're trying to take that to certain countries, no, you can't. So it goes both ways.
yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, I can see why people would want SDC to handle everything door to door because these are things that it's worth paying a little extra to have someone who knows what they're doing rather than you. Maybe you do some searches online and you get some old, outdated information, and then you find yourself sitting there either at the port of exit or entry, and you run into a problem, and then you're
That's
like, oh, now what do I do?
absolutely true, and that's the takeaway. Really, work with someone who really knows what they're doing and is experienced doing that. Because if it gets to the port and customs for whatever reason can't be cleared, or there's
Yeah,
some huge delays cost money. They don't just store your stuff there for free.
yeah,
And if it just can't come in, now what do you do? I mean, like I said, you turn the boat around. There really can be challenges. So you want to make sure that everything's going to be fine. The takeaway for this for clients is everything's going to be fine,
yeah,
unless there's really some shenanigans going on. But you do want to work with someone who, if you're going door to door, knows what they're doing, has experience.
yeah. Well, Rob, as always, we'll put that number on the screen. If somebody wants to call you directly, I know you're available.
I'm available. Yeah, give me a call, email me, anything, or reach out to STC directly, and any of our very very experienced relocation specialists can help.
All right, sounds good. Well, Rob, I will catch up with you next week. And for those of you watching, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If so, go ahead, share it with a friend, share the link, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you happen to be. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one, Jim. Nice talking to you.
You too, Rob.